Hello, investors. This is Ted Zhang, Portfolio Manager at Revere Asset Management. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 4:32 p.m. coming to you from Fort Lauderdale with tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. Stay in the market. We're in an uptrend. Looking at the GROTECTION gauge, we have three green arrows and market leaders, short-term trend, medium-term trend, and so far we are still keeping the long-term trend at neutral, although the 200-day moving averages are starting to slope up in the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. But we are still waiting for a little more confirmation, especially the 50-day to get over the 200-day moving average. What happened today? S&P and Qs trigger cup with handle breakouts, and the small and mid caps showed relative strength. 21 over 21 leaders list up 1.64%. 13 up, 3 sideways, 5 down. Big 8 up 0.2%. RGA up 1.22%. S&P 500 up 0.58%. RSP up 0.83%. Qs up 0.78%. QQEW up higher 1.03%. Dow Jones up 0.51%. Mid caps up 1.23%. Small caps up 1.59%. Global 60/40 equities bonds up 0.41%. GROTECTION up about 0.3%, and Turbo up about 0.54%. So as always, before I get started, if you appreciate these videos and enjoy them, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment as well, as that helps the YouTube algorithms share our content to people who are looking for investment, trading, or general advice. So jumping right into the video, as always, let's start off with the S&P 500. The daily chart is shown here. As you can see, we have this V-shaped crash. Well, we have this crash on tariff news, then we have this V-shaped recovery heading into the 6,000 supply. When that typically happens, you need to reset and build sideways and see if buyers step to the plate and evaluate how much selling is done. We retested the 200-day, which started to rise, as well as this huge 5770 area level, bounced off that quickly, and so far we triggered this cup with handle breakout. As you can see this more of a V-shaped cup, and then you have this handle right here. So that is definitely a great sign. The next key level that we are looking out for is the 6,000 whole number, and then afterwards, really, it's previous all-time highs. But the fact is that we are within 2% of all time, 2.5% of all time highs now, and this is looking great. 10-week is still below all the longer term moving averages, and soon with the 50-day. So there's still some alignment that needs to happen, but great action so far right now. Heading over to the RSP. Similar action, we are forming a sort of cup with handle-ish pattern, although it is weaker. We haven't taken out this 180 handle highs, but we did reclaim the 200 and the 150-day today. Qs also triggered its own cup with handle breakout. The next level really is maybe whole number 530, and then it's really previous all-time highs of 540. Similar action as well. This one is actually even stronger. On the pullback, it didn't even break that one gap day's lows, and it didn't even retest the 200. So the Qs tech is showing extraordinary strength so far, and definitely RS to the S&P 500. QQEW, equal weighted, is almost triggering a cup with handle. You can see on pattern recognition as well, but not quite there yet. Over 132.65, and that looks great for the equal weighted Qs. Dow Jones reclaimed the 200-day moving average today on elevated volume, so that's subtle sign of accumulation, looking great as well. Mid caps showed relative strength today, up 1.23%, building some higher lows here in this flag, holding the 21 EMA as that lives above the 50 and the 50 starts to curl up again. Still have the 150-day and 200-day above. Russell showing the most strength today, up 1.59%, breaking this flag after building a series of higher lows. The 21 is over the 50, but we still have the 150 and 200 to contend with above. VIX continues to drop below, and I haven't been here for 2 weeks since I was in Italy with my family. But on the last video I did, I talked about how the VIX breaking 20 and living below, and especially coming down this 10 to 14 zone, could provide that smooth, clean uptrend where stocks break out, follow through, and trend higher. The dollar continues to stay weak as these tariff wars go on. Um, people are less inclined to put their money in the dollar just with all this political uncertainty. Gold continues to base sideways, and yesterday we had a gap down. Today we saw some weakness, but on declining volume. So continues to be a strong and healthy base. Gold miners breaks out inside day today, volume declines, fine action. Silver breaks out yesterday, puts an inside day today on lower than average volume. This is perfect action so far as well. And IBIT finds support at the 21 EMA and starts to curl up again on elevated volume. The 6175 area is key. And translating this onto the Bitcoin chart, that would translate to about 108,000. So this is finally building its right side, as I've been talking about. It went up 7 weeks straight off the bottom. And typically when that happens, especially with underlying moving averages and a price gap between the MAs and price, you typically need some sideways action or a pullback to the moving averages before we can head higher. And that's precisely what we are getting now. Bonds, we will look at the 1 year, which is holding steady. 2 years, pretty steady as well. 10 years also just chopping around this 4.3-ish to 4.6-ish area. And nothing too much to talk about bonds here. Although, we'll get into it later, there is a lot of chatter about the increased budget deficit that is being factored into this new One Big Beautiful Bill Act that the Republicans are looking to pass. So that is it with the inter-asset correlation. I'm going to now jump into the tail of the tape. Still operating on the bull case. News today, we had JOLTS job numbers, and that came in. We can go right here. I'll show it to you. It came in a little higher than expected, 7.4 million job openings versus 7.1 million. And let me get back to the tail of the tape here. Sorry, 1 second. Tail of the tape. Let's bring that back. We also had Chinese tariff pause extensions to August 31st, so that gave a little boost to the markets. And besides that, we had this Meta sign a nuclear power deal with Constellation Energy CEG for a 20-year deal. So that was huge and caused a lot of the power generations names to gap up. It'll definitely review some of those names, and many of those reversed. So definitely some profit taking into this news. On top of this, we do have some Elon Trump news. Elon is quite disgusted with the bill, and he voiced it on Twitter. I'm going to show it right here. Elon says, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." And it's definitely throwing some shade at Trump because he does support this bill. Continuing on, Elon says, "In November next year, we fire all politicians who betrayed the American people." So Elon is he's speaking his voice now, and that definitely could potentially affect Tesla, especially if he starts to rattle his relationship with Trump. Who knows what happens politically with that. Today's keys came in watching S&P versus the 15-day range, 57.67 versus 59.69. We cleared that on the couple panel breakout. The Qs we're watching versus 529, 530, the range 511.93 to 526.48. We cleared that as well. Day count consolidation, 5 days of consolidation out of the 15 days to up 1 now. 6 days above the 8 EMA, 28 days above the 21 EMA, which is starting to get a little bit on the longer side, but this could definitely continue to trend higher. Short-term expectations are positive. Strong sectors, bond yields were up, so bonds were down. Dollar is up, tech, energy, builders. Uranium was the number one standout, as well as Bitcoin miners and semis. Real estate and consumer were down. Gold, silver, miners as well. Today in GROTECTION, we bought CRDO, added HIMS, and offensive trim hood and GAV. 1.51 beta, 5.21% open heat. In turbo, we bought LEU, an energy play in uranium. 1.87 beta, 5.72% open heat. So with that being said, let's review the bot names. CRDO, we started it on this gap on massive numbers, 400% earnings, 180% revenue growth. We started small, so even though this reversal isn't the brightest look, we can withstand some volatility in this name. We added on to HIMS on its own news, which they acquired Zava, expanding into UK, Germany, France, and Ireland, and they serve 1.3 million active customers. Again, this is quite the ugly reversal. They tried to break out, completely reversed, ending up in a bearish engulfing on volume. So this is not the greatest look. There's definitely supply up here, late trapped buyers, and people up over 150% selling into that strength. So we'll see what happens here. Definitely volatility has increased in this name. Offense trip hood, we broke out, getting even more extended on a gap. We have like this 52 area average, so just taking a little more profits there on extended names. And GEV just continues to frozen rope up and into this 500 area, decided to trim off some as well. In Turbo, we bought some LEU. They also reversed on us today. But our thought process was it found support, continues to find support on the base highs, and it gapped up on the energy meta news. So we decided to take a position to start to get some exposure in the power generation names, besides having GEV. So reviewing all the positions in Grow and Turbo, we'll go over the overlapping ones first. S&P we already talked about. We'll go over Bitcoin, which we talked about. Let's talk about Tesla. It continues to act well. Found support yesterday at the 150 day. Today we tried to push higher, but reversed so far. Palantir continues to act great. Briefly puts in a new all-time high, but closes mid-range. GEV continues to make a new all-time high. Great action. Hood, we talked about. HIMS, we talked about as well. Talk about names that are unique. Spotify continues to chug higher, a little bit choppy. Bros, coffee, tries to break out, still hasn't taken out the cup with handle breakout yet, and reverses back in, but nothing wrong so far. Netflix continues to float higher. NVIDIA also strength today, back over 140, which was this key level stretching all the way back to June, July of 2024. In Turbo, we have Mexico still. This continues to trend higher, keeps in line with the S&P. If we need more cash, we have no problem selling it to allocate elsewhere. Ethereum continues to act strong and start to flag right at the 200-day moving average. Uber, pulling back to that previous breakout 82 area. This is what we're watching. It really needs to hold here. There's definitely some sellers coming in the last few days. And finally, Rocket Lab is a unique name in Turbo. Tried to push up higher, but reversed so far, but still acting fine as it trends above the 21 EMA. Now, the bottom line is S&P and Nasdaq, couple of candle breakouts, small and mid cap, relative strength. Tuesday's keys were watching the S&P versus the 15-day range, 58.43, and we extended the top of the range to 6,000. And the Nasdaq Qs versus this range, 511.93 to the whole number above 530. So with that, let's talk about 21 over 21 list. Let's go from the top. Huge standout coral reef is starting to accelerate, and this looks like it's going to end up in some sort of climax run here. It's gapping up another 3.4% after hours. This one stings a lot for us as we've been nicking at it in this 45 area in Turbo, got stopped, then tried it again in this 55 area before earnings, got stopped on this screw bar, bearish engulfing, and then we just couldn't buy that into earnings and didn't find ourselves in afterwards. Hood, we already talked about this new 52-week highs on a gap, great action. NVIDIA reclaims this 140 level, up 2.9%. Carvana continues to see strength into a new, not all-time high, new 52-week high. AS continues to see strength as well. Gaps up, pulls back, and looks like it's starting to curl. IBIT we talked about already. GEV talked about already. NRG breaks this flag. Another power generation name that stays strong. 3 bars of above average volume in the last 3 days. That's pure accumulation. Boeing also breaks the flag in the last 3 days and continues to make new highs as well. Palantir, we talked about. ZS has been extraordinary. This weekly base breakout was amazing, and yet accelerated earnings growth too. And this has been a wonderful trender and is starting to accelerate on its earnings as well. Tesla, talked about this one already. Chewy continues to flow higher after the cup with handle breakout. People love their pets and they'll spend anything for them. Earnings in 8 days. EQT, natural gas, will be critical to power data centers, especially before we find a grip on renewable energy sources like hydro, wind, solar, nuclear, and other forms of energy production. Natural gas will have to be one of the main sources of energy right now. Netflix continues to flow higher, which we talked about. And then on the downside, we have Hims with this huge bearish engulfing field breakout. Toast tried to poke his head out again, but rejected by this 44.12 area. However, it still holds the 21 EMA, still well above the gap days lows. That still looks great. And Toast is everywhere in every restaurant. And it's just a seamless way for payment processing at food vendors. So that is a 21 over 21 leaders list, still really healthy. And with that, I'm going to wrap up today's video. Let me bring up this. If you're interested in what we do at Revere, please email me at ted@revereasset.com. Twitter X is Ted H. Zhang. Our phone is 855 Real Wealth. That is 855-732-5932. Our website is Revere Asset, and our YouTube is also Revere Asset. If you enjoyed this video and our content, please like, as that boosts our algorithm, as well as subscribe to not miss out on future videos, and then share it to your friends and family for those that may enjoy our content or are interested in what we do. That being said, I'm going to wrap it up for today. It's Ted Zhang, portfolio manager at Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your week.